We have confirmed that the stock market has risen because of central bank influence upon it. The central bank is the only one who can issue the legal tender of that country. The economy is clearly in a disastrous situation, but quite frankly, it's covered up and masked by this inflated bubble. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at this indicator. I want to connect it in with a few other issues. Let's begin with this article out of the Telegraph. The global credit impulse has fallen as dramatically over recent months as it did during the onset of the Lehman crisis. The Lehman crisis obviously being that pinnacle moment during the financial crisis where it all began. You see this UBS tracking indicator shows that the impulse plummeted by 6% of GDP since peaking last year. They cite these two countries, China and the US, as the core issue here. All I really wanted to say from this is that it is telling with this particular indicator, but this indicator is simply one of many. Everyone needs to seek out as many indicators as possible. For the average individual in the finance industry, realistically, they're only looking at, let's say, maybe 5 or even 10. They look at the stock market, they look at the interest rates, and a few others. It's like the most basic thing. Yet, really what's going on is a complicated set of events that can be triggered in order to bring on the financial crisis part 2. Look at this. Instead of spending money on having a resurgence in the economy, the US government is going to send perhaps 4,000 additional American forces into Afghanistan. More money is being poured into the war despite Obama's lies that troops would be brought back home. Well, that's not going to happen because this war is a fraud in the first place, and it's simply funding the military-industrial complex. Look at this. Central banks bought most of the government debt expansion. Can you believe this? When you look at the percentage-wise, you're seeing 40% in this case of what we call expansion, but really it's in a way digging itself deeper. That's pretty much where the global economy sits at. All the central banks around the world, all the big boys, are here printing up more currency than ever, and it's causing a complete dislocation and distortion. Look at this. Where does the wealth come from? Where does the economy come from? From a printing press. That's the new world. National home prices now exceed their previous peak in nominal terms, but not in real terms. You have to figure this for anything, for the stock market, for any particular commodity. Look at this in real terms as well. It's so important, and it gives you a better picture of what's happening. And that's even using the fake numbers. Imagine if they used these real calculations. It would just show us a much better picture, but they don't want to do that. San Francisco has gotten so expensive that some tech companies can't convince employees to move there. This has become one of these small areas of a large area where, you look nationally at the US, there's a lot of pockets. San Francisco happens to be so expensive right now that it is absurd. Rental prices are skyrocketed. You're looking at to buy a home is skyrocketed. I mean, this is just one example of so many different cities, so many different states and provinces, regions and countries have seen real estate prices become astronomical. Look at this. Trailer park flash. Google buys 300 high-tech modular homes worth $30 million for its employees to help alleviate Silicon Valley housing crunch. It's gotten so expensive. It is absurd. And what we're seeing, look at Hong Kong, for example. I just saw an article today about people living in essentially boxes. And I don't say box as, a few hundred square feet. We're talking about literally a box. I don't even think the person can stand up inside of it. It's a coffin, essentially. And that has become a new norm. I think it was $1,200 for something like that. I mean, it's absurd. Where is the reality of any of these markets? The fact is that it's not there. It's simply not there. Netflix surpasses major cable providers in the US. This is huge. Not for Netflix necessarily, that have reached over 50%. I believe that what this tells me is that change is not coming, change is here. People are going away with traditional media. And it seems to be that traditional media, TV, radio, garbage news, people are simply transitioning to different systems like Netflix and like streaming applications like Spotify or even YouTube. There's so many. People are going to an alternate, whatever that might be, in their ideas that they don't want to be forced onto such a old way to do things. They want to move on to new and, let's say, better things. I mean, some people would argue that, but it doesn't matter. So this is just trying to show you that change is here today. A lot is changing, some for the better, some for the worse, but it's changing. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. So the first book is about the 4 asset classes and how to profit from them. Then the new book takes on familiar examples, but I get into what I call the money GPS strategy, and that is becoming self-sufficient, reducing your expenses, and so on. You could flip through those books over at Amazon. There is a link in the description below. And I just wanted to say that I'm very appreciative for everyone out there listening to this video. Thank you to each and every one of you. Take care.